I'm so excited about this. And a little freaked out. Okay, wait. My first question, which is completely unrelated to podcast, is did you actually do the hair DIYs? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yes, I did.
You did?
The one that I mixed up in the
in the
picture.
photos? Yeah.
Yes.
You put it in your hair. That makes me so happy.
That shit was great.
That makes me so happy. I was like, someone actually made this, so I wonder if it went into their hair.
Yeah, I just did it at home because I was like, I wasn't going in to work last week. I've been going in every day, and last week I didn't. I honestly just felt like I was suffering a mental breakdown. So I stayed home, and it was actually a really nice day because it gave me something to do. It was creative, but it was like self-care, and
I like that. Just like me, you stayed home and you still did work.
It was work, but it was honestly, that was the best kind
better
of work.
Better what you could handle. I know. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, so this episode is about changing careers, which I'm not even sure applies to you because it's more like you're adding a career, but I think that makes it more interesting.
Well, yes, I didn't jump ship per se.
Right.
Although Paramore are taking an extended break right now. We don't really even call it that because I think nowadays everything is so strategized that we don't want this to become some sensational,
thing,
marketing move,
Yes.
So, I mean, even though I haven't jumped ship right now, my focus is 100% on Good Die Young for the first time since starting the company. So it's really, so far, I think it's been a really good thing for my head, for my brain.
I mean, it's got to be so different, right?
Yeah. Okay. In a lot of ways, I try to draw parallels all the time in business meetings because I'm like, well, this is how we did it over here.
Right.
And the only reason that I really can get away with that is because we are an internet business, if you know what I mean. Like everything is just direct to consumer.
Online now.
I mean, we did add Sephora.com recently, but I mean, it's like, it's all been so in-house, and Paramore was very much like that. And we were very much about connecting with people via the internet for a while because we couldn't get to them. We didn't even have the money to get to some of these places. So yeah, I mean, I try to draw parallels, but it is vastly different. I feel there are lucky moments when I feel like I know what I'm doing, but for the most part, there are days that I feel like I'm walking around in the dark and I'm just hoping to not hit my shin on the bed and like cry for the rest of the night.
Literally and figuratively. So do you, but sometimes I wonder, because I think an amazing thing that hopefully about Paramore is how much you guys were able to, I mean, Hayley, I feel like the most recent album is the best. Like you got better over time and for so long. And that I think is a very rare thing. So sometimes I actually wonder, I guess I'm asking you, like, do you think that that's something that contributed to you guys lasting is like a business sense or a commitment to it that is still that's still a business sense. You know what I mean? Because you're going to have to be equally committed to this new beast.
Right. Yeah. With Paramore, I'm really lucky to be in the band with friends. And I think that we could get psychological with this, but for me as a person, I have just, for whatever reason, needed to feel part of a community. And I've needed to feel like I have, and I do have a great family, riddled with all the problems that every family has, but I have a really cool chosen family that I feel very thankful for. And that, I think, business sense was secondary to this family environment that we created, that we just, Taylor and I remained really, really loyal to. And now Zach's back in the fold. And I mean, you can just feel it emanating from him too. So there's a thing that I try to bring into Good Die Young that's still that. It's still that essence of who are our whose family, what community are we creating? How can we make other people feel like they're a part of this too? I just, that's what really important to me. And then secondary to that, is I have to leave this fabric room because there's a guy mowing his lawn and it is so loud.
If it helps, I can't hear it. So wherever you are, you're okay.
Okay, good. Okay, good. The aspect of community and building something that
Right.
is more heartfelt is always first priority to me. And then second is this, thought that we need to meet this quota or the numbers need to look good or what, because, I mean, a lot of times the numbers don't look good when you're a small business. And if you don't have this other thing that helps keep you
Right.
centered and grounded in what your purpose is, then I mean, numbers change, and then all of a sudden you're changing all the time, and you can't do that if you want to remain committed and you want to remain authentic in whatever you're doing.
Right. It almost makes me think that it's more that your sense of community and relationship is the thing that is your business sense and in a way is better than a business sense. Because
Mm,
in any endeavor that anyone's doing, like as you were saying that, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I feel really good at work no matter what's going on days where I'm like, these are my people. Like it's all going to be
mm,
fine
right.
versus, oh my God, like what am I doing in my career? Which is a very different,
Yeah.
much scarier question. But
It is.
it almost makes it be like, oh, that's not what matters. And in no
Mm,
matter what you're doing, what matters is how do you feel about the people around you and what work are you doing to like
mm.
really focus on that?
Right. And how are you contributing? I mean, like all of those more holistic and personal things those are things that wake me up in the morning more than
Right.
anything. I
Right.
mean, thank God are the products that we create, I love.
Yeah.
And, and I feel really passionate about that too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I think if you don't have that feeling, that connectivity happening on a personal level, I don't know how people go into jobs that they feel disconnected from the people around them.
Right.
I feel my heart breaks because it's like it's already it can be a very lonely life even if you're around a lot of people, even if you know a lot of people. And I think when you find your people, and it may only be a couple, sometimes that's enough. Like sometimes that's what keeps you motivated for long enough to, create a product that people can enjoy or create something that makes you feel like you have a purpose and you've contributed in
Totally.
your way.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
and
thankful.
it's like it's such a nice way to think about it because it makes you realize the job doesn't matter. And really
Mm,
relevant to what we're trying to talk about. If you feel like you want to change your career, if you're going to work and you're unhappy, I think the focus tends to be on, well, maybe you're not following your life's calling. Maybe you're not doing the
mm,
thing that really makes your heart beat out of your chest. And it's like, maybe you're not with the right people, or maybe you're not focusing on how it feels with those people. Because
mm.
if you are, then what does the job matter? Like recently, I was fantasizing. This is like a hilarious and sad fantasy. I so
I love those.
Adam Adam and I do this. We have like a little ritual on the weekends, like either Saturday or Sunday. We go to diners, but like diner, like the ones that are
Yes.
like, the ones that no one else is going to. And we were at one recently, and all the servers were like being so chummy with each other and friendly, and you could see them like hanging out by the little like
Mhm.
where they swipe the cards, and I was like, maybe I'll be a waitress next.
You're having that fantasy too because I've had that fantasy. I swear to
Really?
God.
So
Yeah.
funny. I
Oh
just was
my
like, I
God.
want to come here and powwow with them and have fun with my tables and be like, would you like that coffee iced? I was
I
like,
said
this
the
is
same thing in
hilarious.
my head watching Fargo last night. I was like the chief who's like she's not gonna be the chief and she just got demoted or something. Like she got back home and she was like ready to like investigate a murder, but something happened and they needed to stall and like she was just with her son and her ex-husband and they were like, well, we have some time, let's go to Arby's and just hang, we can get shakes and fries now. And I was just like, she's so happy because she's with her people. She just
Right,
got demoted but
right.
she's with
It
her
doesn't matter.
folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's still gonna investigate that murder and she's gonna figure it out.
So we'll be like waitresses that are detectives on the side. with our
Yeah.
families. Perfect.
I do think that everyone has these fantasies where, I mean, it's really no different than the grass is greener kind of thought process where not always healthy, but I do think that ultimately, yeah, that there is a reality that like if you have community acceptance and you feel purposeful, I do feel like you can find yourself being good at whatever it is that you're doing, whatever's right in front of you, and you can feel fulfilled by that. I think,
Right.
especially if you're aiming for something that you know you're really passionate about. Say you're not doing something that you're as passionate about, and you're headed towards that thing, and if you can make sure to prioritize that, making that safe space for yourself with people and with the things that are around you that keep you true. Man, I just don't know how you fail. I mean, like there are days that Good Die Young is not. It like the numbers do not look impressive, and it's not like, we're a small business, so it's not like I'm going over to investors' houses and being like, like fucking palling around like everything's perfect all the time. It is very hard. I mean, Brian and I have been on tour. This year we were on many nights getting ready for shows and just being like, what the hell are we doing?
Right.
Are we crazy? And
Yeah.
when we met with Sephora, like I think before the products themselves, which thankfully they loved, before any of that, they just saw the connection that we had and that we are so excited to connect with other people about it and create community.
Right.
It's just in us, and that's what we're passionate about.
But what made you be like, I've checked off the rock star box. Maybe I'll start a company now. Like, did you already know that you needed a little bit of space? Did you and Brian just have the idea and you were like, this is just too good, we have to do it? Like, what made you be like, because I feel like my impression from you is you knew from the beginning that you were jumping into the deep end, but you did it
Yeah.
anyway. So I'm curious about that moment. Did it take time? Was it like a lot of conversations where you and Brian talked through it? Was it all the above?
It was all of the above. It was equal parts blue sky, kind of thinking that we might just be fine from day one. And then also me knowing that essentially what I'm doing is jumping back in the van. And what I mean by
Right.
that is Paramore started in a van. It was a
Right.
12 passenger, and
Yeah.
we ate Taco Bell at 4 a.m. every night. And
Which is amazing. Yeah.
but you know what? When we were making nothing and we were being paid in pizza and we barely had gas to get to the next show, we were having the time of our lives. And
Right.
I don't remember the shittiest, like weird things that I probably thought I would remember. I remember the really incredible, and again, to use the word the connected moments that I had with people and with my
Right.
bandmates. And so, yes, I knew, oh man, we're going to start this thing, and it's going to be a bitch. Like it's going to be a
Right.
lot of
Right.
work.
Yeah.
But I also had, I mean, especially when other people started to get involved, and guys in suits and all that, they're like, oh, Hayley from Paramore, this is going to be huge, and and I think I started to. There was a moment I took a few sips of the Kool-Aid, like maybe a few too many, because I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. This is great,
Oh,
and
right.
you
Yep.
know what I mean? And
Yes.
that just came from doing a lot of investor meetings and doing a lot of like trying to figure out what the right path was for Good Die Young. There were moments where we thought this might just be a licensing thing. We may be using someone else's formulas and just putting my name on it. And none of that felt good. What felt good to Brian and I was, hey, we've been doing this thing together for years, and we're really good at this together. I really love to not necessarily be the face of something, but I love to help like message, and I love being a
Right. Right.
mouthpiece, and I'm not always good at it. And there are days that it causes me just crippling anxiety, but I know that it's in me. And you're really good at color, and you get the science, and you're passionate about educating people. He has a real heart for young people that want to do this, especially those that may not have the means to put themselves through beauty school. And that's something that we can't even get to right now as a business because we're so small.
Right. But you
But it's
know the bigger vision.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have this bigger vision, and we just choose to believe that whether I wake up and I feel like it's all going to fall into my lap and I'm, in ignorance is bliss, or whether I wake up and I think, okay, I'm gonna put on two belts today and put up my big boy boots and like get out there and get in the mud. Like I don't know. I mean, I could feel one way or the other either day, and the business is still the same, and the people that are there are still the same, and the mission is ultimately something that I think we'll get around to. Like
Right.
it'll happen.
Right. And it's what makes you want to do it.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. I think that if I didn't have something to strive for, to work for, and get my hands a little bit dirty, I wonder if I wouldn't be okay, because I've never, that's it's never been a reality for me to wake
Right.
up and not have a thing that I'm moving towards.
And working like hard on,
Yeah,
not just
yeah,
like, yeah, not just sort of floating through. You're
right.
used to it being kind of a grind. So what do you do on the days besides maybe let's stay home, which actually it's
Mhm.
reassuring to hear you say that because when I don't go to the office, I'm like, oh, am I like messing up? But sometimes I really need it too. So what else
Yeah.
do you, if you the mornings you wake up and you're like the anxiety is so bad, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I have to. Do you have things that you're like that you can kind of okay, I'll apply these three things and then I know I'll feel better, or I need to wait it out? Like what are the things you do to get through those moments?
Um, I want to lie and say that I never do big pity parties, but I do. Um,
Wait, so what? I love this. What is? I want to know what the pity party looks like. I want to know if it looks like mine.
oh, it's very pitiful. A lot of times it's literally, I mean, I am in therapy, let's be clear. I'm
Yes.
trying to like work through some of the more emotional and psychological issues that are attached to this, but there are days that I like with business, I decide, okay, I'm gonna stay home. I can't, like, I
Right.
just need this, whatever the reason is. It could be something different any day of the week, but I'm going to stay home and I'm just going to give myself permission. Well, not 2 years, 2 minutes later, I'm already giving, it feels like 2 years. I'm already beating myself up for giving myself permission to
Totally.
remove, to sort of back up and remove myself from the situation. And I just sit sometimes, and I lose time. I lose time. Like
Yeah.
I go into this weird deep headspace that's like, it's not dark. It's just like I think I turn myself off. I shut myself down like a little robot, and
Right.
I'll wake up and they'll be like, the news is on and it's depressing, and then then I'm spinning out into a whole other thing. So there are days that I lose that I feel very uncomfortable about, and then there's days that I make myself, uh you know I pull myself out of the lazy kind of character of that, and I take myself to Trader Joe's and I buy all the shit that's in a DIY recipe for a hair mask by you, and I like say to myself, look, you may not send out any emails, you may not do shit today, but at the very least you'll be a little bit creative today and you'll do something that's good for you. I mean, I think if I can, like, I've started to paint a lot more, and I've started to try and do things that are creative, just because I tell people from a stage every night, like, hey, if you're ever lost and you don't really understand the point of life, like, create something,
Yeah.
because
Right.
that will make you understand what you're capable of, and it doesn't even have to be pretty. But yet, if I come home and I have a bad day, there are moments that none of that advice, I'm not speaking that to myself. So I've been trying to practice what I preach a little bit more and be a lot more creative in ways that aren't necessarily songwriting. And that helps me. So that's a really long answer.
No, it's so good because number one, it makes me think. I always think about it's very helpful to me whenever you talk about expression and Paramore talks about expression, but I actually think this really sort of connected it for me. Excuse me. Sorry. Connected it for me where it's actually that expression. So sometimes for me, I'll be like, oh, maybe if I write a really good Instagram that feels really meaningful for me, that'll be me. Like that'll satisfy the expression need, the creativity need. And then after I'm like, I don't feel better. And it's like, yeah, because it doesn't, that's maybe one way, but I think it's like same as social media in general. It's like a quick hit. That's not necessarily you taking the time to be creative. It's you just like trying to quickly satisfy this urge.
Wow,
And
good point.
it also makes me realize, remember, well, I guess you don't even really have this experience, but for me, you used to have normal, like when I was younger, I had normal jobs and you would take days off and do literally the thing that you're talking about. But I actually think people, I mean, it's so hard when you have a business because you really feel that feeling of like any minute I'm not doing something is a minute that it doesn't, like I'm hurting the business somehow. But I actually think like my employees have the same problem. I have to make them take time off or they don't, because I think these days everyone's just like, I have to keep grinding. I can't take the break. Like they'll take breaks for like surgery. I'm like, that's not a break. That's not actually you just letting your mind be like, I'm going to go to Arby's today with my family. Like, you know what I mean? We really don't, we really kind of don't do that anymore. And if we do, we feel guilty. And then I think we end up like, I do that same, I need a lot of time to just like honestly sit and think. That's what it feels like. Like I'm just sitting around and thinking. And then by the end I'm like, oh, feel better.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so true that we do take the shortcuts. That's a really good point. It's good for me to hear you speak to that because I do the same. There are so many days that we've texted about business and I've just felt so seen. I have felt so like, oh my God, okay. Yes, someone else is thinking the same things, and someone, by the way, who I really look up to you and your business, and I mean I've followed you for a while now. This has been since 2012 that I mean Sprout, man. That's what it was. It wasn't even
a little baby. Yeah.
And I just think like it is so good. Again, like that circles back around to community, but it's just it's great to know that we're all kind of just as a collective, just women in business, just society, we are conditioned to kind of know. I mean, I think we do know what our shortcuts are and we take them, man. Like I take those shortcuts with social media all the time. And I like, I'm really glad you said something about that because I thought that the other day too and I even thought it when I posted the picture after doing that DIY at home. I was like, well, wait, am I doing this for me anymore? And I was like, oh yeah, you also did this for your business, but so you need to post it. But I was like, I just thought about it. I had like a whole flash in my mind about what it means to create something that's just for your own enjoyment. And I don't know, for a living, people buy things that me and my friends create. So it's hard for me to speak to that. But I do think there's something beautiful about what happens in your private moments that you create for yourself.
Right. Well, and it's just a good reminder that you feel the pain. There's no life that's like takes away all of the need to chill and relax and recoup, but also kind of the darkness of like feeling shitty. Like that's just not, you're not going to avoid it because you're doing something that's looks dreamy and even feels dreamy to you.
Right. Nope.
But also, okay, so I know we have to wrap up because you have a board meeting, but I just want to say, because this is your life now, but I just want to say that I actually think, first of all, ditto, you're like a dream come true, and I feel like everyone needs to know that. You are exactly how everyone would want you to be and not expect, I think. But honestly, the outreach, same for me, like, that I can reach out to you. And I think this is a good thing for people to think about. Like sometimes it's harder to be like, I'm going to text Hayley, you know, like I'm going to reach out to this person who has so much of their own stuff going on, is a total goddess. But like you're always so it always makes me feel better. And I think people need to remember that that's a big thing too. Like, go to the people
Yeah.
and let them, and be vulnerable with them, and let them be vulnerable with you, because I think it's like life-saving for me in so many instances. I'm like, you know what? I can do this. She's doing it. Other people are doing it. We can do this together.
You're speaking straight to my heart, all the things that I'm the most gushy about. Like I wish I could tattoo all of that on me, because it is so important to not be afraid, or not be lazy, or not be
Yeah.
to reach out to people. And
Yes.
I mean, man, I've suffered the opposite of that many days, where I'm just like, I mean, you can get in your head about 1,000 things. I'm not, I don't want to bother that person, or I don't feel I feel insecure, so I don't
Right.
want to reach
Right.
out. But
Or
but I
sometimes, honestly, it doesn't work. I mean, that's the thing too.
sure,
Vulnerability, you
sure.
can't have expectation, because sometimes the other person is busy and it's just like doesn't give you the response that you want. But I think you have to be like, it's okay. I'll just try again later, you know?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The important thing is to make yourself okay with being vulnerable. It's not, you
Yes.
can't force it out of somebody else, but I think you can show up, and when you show up, you're inviting other people to feel safe to show up too. And again, like, I mean, trying to like circle back around to all the things that we've talked about, because this has just been so good for my soul to talk about all these things. But we it doesn't matter where we are or what you're creating. It doesn't matter what kind of art or what kind of business, who you're marketing to. At the end of the day, if you show up and you're just doing your best to be authentic about it. I know that was such a buzz business word like 4 years ago, but it still matters to me. Authenticity and vulnerability are the things that help us to connect as humans. So humans are who make business work. And
Yes.
we need to, I think we have to just be human about all of it.
Yes.
I try to remember that when I go into board meetings, because man, they drive me nuts, and I get anxious, and I feel
Right.
very disconnected suddenly from a business that my heart is in,
Oh
you
man,
know.
me too. That'll be our next our next episode. But
Woo!
wait, so I hope that in this one, like in Harry Potter where he has all the ghosts of, hopefully you're a Harry Potter fan. But I'm just
Of
kidding.
course I am. I
Where he's
didn't
got
react quick enough though, because that's a true sign.
well, it just occurred to me like, wow, I'm really about to like talk about vulnerability. I'm like, here's my Harry Potter reference where he's got all these like ghosts of the people who loved him. I hope
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those in your board meeting.
Oh my,
I would
that's
like
the
to be.
coolest thing that anyone's ever said to me about business, I think, in my life.
A Harry Potter reference. There you go, everyone.
It had to be a Harry Potter reference. I mean, that is so cool. You will definitely be there. You've been there before, and you didn't even know it. But that's how ghosts are, right?
Yes.
So,
Good.
I'm just really thankful for you. I'm so
Ditto.
thankful that first time that I like, either I don't remember if I reached out or if I posted something, but I'm so glad you reached back out. It really just, I never would have thought this many years later we would be on the phone, well, on the computer talking. I don't even know if podcasts existed back then.
I hope,
but
yeah, I hope in 10 years we're like virtual realitying with each other.
just like beaming over to you.
10 years, it'll be like a year from now. We'll be like, remember how long we thought it would take? Okay.
Thank
Have
you
the
so
best
much.
meeting. I'm there with you in spirit. Thank you so much for doing this. I speak on behalf of millions. I hope in those moments when you feel good, you deserve it.
God almighty, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm probably going to text you later.
Good. I'll be waiting.
All right. See you later.